Hello and welcome to Voices, a production of the Atlantic Caribbean Union of Seventh-day Adventists. I'm your host, Barry Shane Saunders. The Education Department of the Inter-American Division of Seventh-day Adventists recently hosted an educational gathering called Path to Knowledge in Bogota, Colombia, where division educational directors from across the Inter-American Division participated in various seminars. Also attending the conference were teachers who successfully advanced to the semi-final position as a result of obtaining the highest scores in an examination of the Inter-American Division Book of the Year, Myths in Adventism by Pastor George Knight. The semi-finalist from the Atlantic Caribbean Union was Miss Marcia Smith, who earned third place among 24 unions of the Inter-American Division. Today we are privileged to have with us in studio Miss Marcia Smith. Welcome, Miss Smith.
Thank you.
It's great to have you again in studio.
Great to be here.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Can you tell us a little bit about the seminars you attended?
The seminars in Colombia were excellent. I should start with that. They focus on different areas within education. They focus on leadership. They focus on methods, strategies to be excellent within the classroom.
Right.
We also look at new things to implement, such as inclusive curriculum within the classroom and how to actually take care of special needs students within the classroom.
Yeah.
So they were really awesome,
That's awesome.
and engaging.
Very good. Tell us, what was your favorite seminar out of all of them?
I had quite a few favorite seminars. One of them, the spiritual aspect, and that was by Dr. Johnson, our very own secretary of the Inter-American Division. He focused on the prayer of Jabez and when you pray. So that was really spiritual and encouraging for me. So that was great spiritual food. I also enjoyed the seminar training on inclusive curriculum.
Okay.
What we should include and what inclusive is when it comes to Adventist education. Now, inclusive when it comes to Adventist education incorporates the special needs and the different types of learners that we have within the Adventist faith.
Oh, beautiful. I want to roll back just a little bit because for some of our viewers may not know who Marcia Smith is.
Oh.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Marcia Smith?
Well, name Marcia Smith. I am one of the teachers at Bahamas Academy at our beautiful school. I teach grades 10 through 12. I teach one grade, Bible, grade 10, and I teach English language to grades 11 and 12.
Okay, so you're a very busy person.
Too busy.
Let's get into it. So as alluded to earlier, the book of the year was Myths in Adventism.
Yes.
So first of all, let's define myths. Myths.
Based on George Knight and based on Arthur Combs, because he took most of his information from Arthur Combs, a psychologist.
Right.
He said that myth is false or inaccurate beliefs that we held to be true.
Beautiful. Okay. So I like that definition because that's the same one I had here. And you know it out of your head. I would have had to read it. Right. I was able to skim through this book, right? And I found it very, very interesting. But I want you to start for us. Just tell us about myths of the teacherless home. Ellen G. White says that the family should be the first school for young people. Tell us about that.
That is true what she said, but let me go back to the teacherless home.
Right.
That chapter or that myth was basically about parents not spending enough time within the home to teach, to groom, to grow their children so that they could be fully developed before they go off to school.
Right.
Or the teacherless home is where limited time is spent in nurturing the child or children within the home so they could be well-rounded with biblical and moral principles.
I like
So
that.
it was really lacking in the home, so it becomes a teacher-less home.
Oh.
And then because of the change in society, because remember we had the traditional home, then we had the industrial era, then we have the modern age. So all of that affect the home.
Right.
So now both parents are working outside the home. So this now impact and influence the children or the child within the home. And then now they come to us within the school. So we have a teacherless home. So it's not like before.
Okay. So before, just to get you right, before we had a situation where the mother stayed at home.
Yes.
Because the structure was in place for that. And then through the age, the industrial age, and now, and there are less fathers in the home.
Yes.
So mothers play all these roles.
Yes,
So
all of
they have
that
to go
impact.
to work, and that impacted.
Yes. So it's when the mother or both parents are outside of the home, they work because of various circumstances.
Right.
As you said, sometimes there's no father within the home, sometimes it's a death within the family.
Right.
So the mother, she now has to go and work. So because of that, there's no proper nurturing and grooming of the child. And when this happens, it's going to impact their learning and their growth and development, overall being.
The rearing of a child, is that a mother's job?
No, it's not only a mother's
Okay.
job, it's both parents. And I am going to step outside of that a bit.
Okay.
So you have both parents, you have the church. For instance, we have the home, the church, and the school, and
Right.
that's it. That's the rearing of the child. But immediately, that's the mom and the dad.
Right.
Both parents rear the child and bring up the child in the Lord.
So it's not primarily the mother's job.
No, it's not primarily the mother's job. Why that came about, because when Ellen White wrote her information back then, during the time period, during the era when she wrote, it was mainly the traditional and moving away from the traditional to the industrial age.
Right.
So because of that, the mother was home most of the time.
Okay.
So she focused mainly on the mother, but it's not necessarily only the mother, because she went after, and even before her statement, she said that the father's role is vital and important, and the mother cannot play the role of the father in bringing up the child, and vice versa. So both, they are necessary.
Okay, so everybody plays an integral role.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And definitely the home is the dominant and the primary educational first school in training the child. She even said, too, that the home, it was decreed by God. This is established by God, and it is sacred for both of them to nurture the child.
Beautiful. So is it a myth that the child needs the home or needs us less in the home once they start school?
Is it a myth that they need us less? It is a myth. They need us more.
Okay.
They need us more when they start school, because when they come home from school, they're going to share what happened at school. And that was at the same point, we have another psychologist who gave his view, and Frank Gabeline, who said that the teachers within the school should supplement whatever happens within the home and not supplant what happens in the home. So the children, they need, because they're growing, they have needs, and they change and they grow and they develop, and things happen. So they're going to relate to their parents. And the parents are very influential. At times, George Knight was saying that sometimes the parents do not know how powerful and how influential they are within the home. So they do not execute or exercise their role properly within the home. So it may not be seen, or it is not as effective as it should be, but they are very influential and they are very powerful.
Okay. Let's move forward a little bit. Our children begin school. And the teacher, they spend most of their waking hours now with the teacher, right? Does this mean now that the teacher influence on the children are more than the parent?
No. It seems like the teacher is more influential. The teacher is influential, but the parent is more influential. And then again, too, we cannot even limit this, because sometimes it depends on the scenario or the environment that the child was brought up in. Because of the teacherless home, because sometimes there's hardly enough time from the parent within the home to teach and nurture the child, it seems as if the teacher has more influence or impact upon the child. In some cases, yes, and maybe so, but generally, overall, no, because the mother and the father, they are the dominant person within the home, and they have the child from that young and tender age where they're more susceptible to gaining information or acquiring information. So they learn a lot of things from early onset, like respect, responsibility, good and evil, and things like that. So all of that is formed within the home.
Right.
So they come to me. So the influence is already there from the home. All I am going to do as a teacher is to harness that, to culture it, to refine it, or to work along with the mom and the dad to ensure that the child grows on the path that the Lord expects. And let me add something that was really, really interesting that I found out to show you that the parents are, the home is more influential. There was a study. I don't know if you remember this Benjamin Bloom with Bloom's taxonomy, with the learning levels of learning.
Right.
He did another study or a similar study, and in his study he realized that from 50% of your intellectual ability is developed from 0 to 4.
Wow.
50%. And then by the age of 8, 80% is develop your intellectual ability. Now that's within the home structure environment.
That's right.
So we have 20% to alter. Who alters that 20%? Society, teachers. So the home is more influential than the teacher. And then again, remember I said that sometimes the parents do not realize how powerful they are.
How do we now impact or begin to share this information with parents? Because it is evident, and we see it played out in our schools.
Yes.
And sometimes we blame the children, but we see it played out in our schools, and our children come and they are dysfunctional, and it's because of the lack of this in the home.
Yes.
The preschool age. How do we now begin to educate our parents to sensitize them to the awesome responsibility they have as it relates to the children long before they come to school?
It's an awesome responsibility, and as a school or as teacher leaders, we have to educate the parents, which means now that we have to set up programs and seminars and training and workshop to educate those parents who do not know. Because some knows, some they have no idea. Some believe that they're just a provider. And it is so clear and it is so true because I've seen it, and even within the book, Mrs. White was saying that some of them believe they're just a provider and that's it. But it is more than that because it is mandated by God. So as a school now, as a system, as a church body, we need to teach more of this within the church system and within the school system. My thing is to have more seminars, like when we have PTA meetings, just have a little segment to say, let us have parenting workshop.
Right.
Instead of, yes, we have had parenting workshop, but we need to zero in more on the home, the value, the importance of the home.
Yeah, that's lovely. The challenge I think we have is that many times we are so busy trying to educate academically that we forget that there are so many other precursors to it. So what about if we are more deliberate in getting our parents to be intentional about this? How most of what you were telling me, the parenting seminars now, that's a reactive. What is our proactive approach?
Our proactive approach is attached to the reaction approach because I have to know. Well, first of all, I have to find out those parents who are not, who have no idea of their valuable role within the home. And then when I do so, and that now comes with me building a relationship with the parents. So when I build a relationship, and even George Knight and Ellen White spoke of it, that I need to sustain such relationship. So when I minister to them, I could now one-on-one teach them or do home visitation.
Beautiful.
So the home visitation would be more of the proactive,
Right.
and it also attached with the reactive with the seminar. And that's something that I personally need to get back to. I was doing that, and then time changes, and then you look at scenarios and things that happen within society, and then you cut. But then reading the book made me realize that it's necessary and it is needed, and it creates a difference. And how I know? Because I used to do it. I had the best time with students, with grades, behavior, when there was a home visitation. And the book also suggests another proactive way is to visit early within the school year.
Right.
Contact them very early
Right.
within the school year. You get your class list, you know what is what, you have your parents, you have the contact. Keep that close ties with them, you know. And the book also, even though it focused on myth, it also mentioned a lot about relationship and keeping the bond.
Beautiful.
And when you build a bond and relationship, you could build and get anything done
Awesome.
and solve any situation.
That is awesome information. Let me tell you, we're going to take a break, but I'm going to prep you for what we're going to do after the break.
Okay.
You're going to discuss with us, we're going to discuss the importance of having our children in our institution. Is that a myth or is that something that's a reality? You're
Okay.
watching Voices. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Voices, and in studio with us is Miss Marcia Smith, and we are discussing myths in Adventism. Marcia, before our break, I kind of told you that what I want you to focus on, what I want us to look at now is it important that our young people be in our schools, or they could be anywhere once they're in our churches and they're being educated also in our homes?
It is very important that our children come to our school. We need them within our school. You see, the purpose of our school, our mandate, is redemptive. It is not a myth for our children to be in our school. They are needed in our school. It's a must. You see, it is time for us to realize the reality that is happening within our world, that Christ is coming soon. It's a cliche, we have heard it all along, but it is definite truth. It is God's truth.
Yeah.
And like I said before, our school is established because our purpose, our goal is to restore, all of us, restore man back to God. And that is the main aim of Adventist education. So whatever we do at Bahamas Academy or any one of our academies, any one of our Seventh-day Adventist institution, is to restore or to bring back human being to this at oneness with God. For us to realize where we are, the nature of man, sin, all of that, and then build a strong spiritual relationship with Christ himself. So yes, we need to have our children within our schools. Now, with the home, I know and I understand that some parents or some of our children are not within our schools. But sometimes I do not know the detail of why or why not they're there. But on the surface, I have seen and I've heard where sometimes they will say that we don't have this and we don't have that. They already give them the mandate within the home. They're already Adventists and they're in the homes and they teach them biblical principles within the home so they could go elsewhere. But it is more than that. It is winning and losing a soul.
Right.
It was so deep and it impressed me so much during the reading when Ellen White says it's all about character building. And your character, the school, our school, and that's why the parent and the teacher needs to work hand in hand. Not only them, and I'm coming to the rest of entities, but the parent and teachers, they need to work hand in hand in building and helping this restoration. And then both of them will help to build the character of the child. And while I'm doing that to the child or for the child, I'm also building mine, because the aim is to see Christ at the end of the day. And Ellen White says, your character determines your destiny here on earth and your destiny in the life to come.
Yes.
And the earth made new.
Yes.
And that was profound and powerful. So yes, they need to be within our school. No, it's not a myth. We need them within our school, and it is vital and important because it's a soul winning.
It's a fact.
Yes.
I've visited many institutions of learning, and they're very deliberate in making sure that the young people in their institutions learn what it is they espouse.
Yes.
How important it is for us as Adventists to do the same thing with our young people.
It is great that you asked that question. It is very, very important. We have to be more intentional as teachers and as leaders. And that was one of the basis for the seminars and the training in Colombia, too, where we were reminded of our purpose and our mandate, and that we cannot do anything without the power of the Holy Spirit. So first of all, we need to be renewed every day in order to do this great task. So when we're renewed every day, we have to work together. Dr. Johnson did one of his seminars on the value of Adventist education, and some of the points that came out, we have to work cohesively as a unit. So the teacher and the parent, the pastors and the teachers, the principals, the administrators of the conference and the union, we all have to work and synchronize together in winning and being more direct and being more intentional in teaching our values and our principles and reminding us as teachers. We too have to go through training, and that's part of the seminar workshop. And we have to do some more training in reminding us of our purpose, because sometimes we tend to forget who we are, our mandate, and how valuable and how important our purpose and our role as a teacher and as leaders are within the school. And when we get that synchronized, then we can go and do any task for the Lord.
Beautiful. But I'm a parent. And I can tell you that I have worship with my children at home.
Yes.
And why? And I have worship in the morning and in the afternoon. They go to Pathfinders. They go to Sabbath school. Why is it important that I have them in our institution of learning?
You see, every moment of the day is soul winning. Every second is valuable and important. I watched a video recently about Satan and his council and the demons. They took no time off. In that video, it was revealed that one of the demons happened to fall asleep, and he reprimanded that demon and said, you cannot sleep because they have a lot of work to do. We cannot miss a beat in the work that we have to do. So every moment of the day should be accounted for. And yes, while the parent is at work, we now become the local parentis.
Right.
So we now as teachers will take over, and that's why we supplement the parents. So we are going to continue what was going on in the home and continue the training. And then it's a holistic thing.
Beautiful.
So when it's holistic and we're working together, by the time the child goes back home, they just pick up from where they left off.
Awesome.
Because we cannot just rest along the side and say, oh, I had worship this morning, that's enough. It's not going to cut it. If we want to keep the focus on Christ, and if we want to ensure that each child gets this spiritual connection with God, because at the end of the day, none of us want to be lost. It is so serious in the sense that Ellen White was saying, as teachers, we need to do more. And I was even questioning myself, what more can I do?
Yeah.
I have been doing this and doing that. But the experience in Colombia and reading the book, it caused me to evaluate who I am as a teacher leader, and then honestly is to do more. And that's why one of the spiritual nugget within Colombia was one of my favorite with Dr. J, when he said, when you pray, because he focused on Jabez,
right.
And he said, when Jabez asked for, said, enlarge my territory, he was asking the Lord for more. And yes, as Christian leaders and teachers, we need to do more.
Right.
And we cannot slack off and said, okay, yesterday's blessing is for today, so I'm just going to relax and do. Then I may just lose my way right there.
Academics is important,
Yes.
no doubt. But more important is the spiritual
Definitely.
upbringing of our young people. So like you say, it's cyclical. It never stops. So the parent does their part in the home. You do your part in the school. And then on Saturday and Sunday, the Pathfinders, the Sabbath school teacher,
Yes.
everybody assists in this nurturing.
Yes.
The end result then is for us to have young persons who are totally fitted
Yes.
for service.
Yes.
But not only that, it's their soul salvation that we are first and foremost. That's what we want to emphasize.
Yes, definitely.
it's a burden for me. How do we get the Adventist parent, and I want to go back at this, how do we get that Adventist parent to understand the awesomeness of that responsibility as it relates to salvation?
It comes back to, I am going to say, a personal relationship with God. And I'm going back to something that was said within the seminar, reminding us of who we are.
Right.
You have to know who you are and your purpose. And if you miss the purpose, you are not going to realize how important it is to send your child within an Adventist school. You're always going to say, we lack this, we lack that. But the thing about it is, it's about soul winning and saving your child. Because remember now, we have the teacherless home. And then Mrs. White was saying that the limited time is not enough to teach the child and prepare them spiritually to have the spiritual richness, as she called it or described it, within our students. And the teachers themselves too need to be reminded ever so often, and we as teachers and leaders need to ensure that we stay connected and sustain this relationship with Christ, because if we don't, we're going to miss our way, and we're going to look at the other person, we're going to look at the school out there, and we're going to compare ourselves. And she's asking us not to compare ourselves. We need to remember our sole purpose, why we were established. And a matter of fact, one of the reasons why our schools were established is because parents were not doing their duty within the home. So Mrs. White asked them to start within the church, have church schools. So the church members now would work together in training the child and building the child. And that's why we work together as a team. It is necessary once we get that here, with our purpose, our focus in life, and our spiritual connection with God, we will never question if I should send my child to the Adventist school.
Beautiful.
But if I miss it, I am going to question it.
Several years ago, and we could tie this in, we spoke about the integration of faith and learning, right? And we were very deliberate. But that also had an aspect where, like you said, and this is why it came to me, you said that the teachers have to be very, very deliberate. And in the home, we have to be deliberate. The parents' role in the home and the teacher role in the school doesn't stop there.
No.
The children have to see that role being played out in the church itself. So I remember when I was growing up, my classroom teacher was also a Sabbath school teacher, or she was the church clerk or the musician or something like that. So I saw what she was teaching me in school being played out in church. I saw some of those same persons as deputy directors or counselors in Pathfinders and in these various. Where are we now with that?
We have missed our mark a bit. And I am going to be a little direct with, like Mrs. White. She said, we have forgotten our way. And because we have forgotten our way, I don't see the value and I don't see the importance. So I now become selfish. So I would rather sit down and watch others do the duty or others do the task. That's one. And she was also focusing on the scenario that they gave within the book, is that, again, if we do not know the purpose of why we were established, then we're not going to see anything else. And if we do not understand ourselves or what man is, because Frank Gabeline was saying, when we understand what man or who man is, because they're playing with those two words, then we will clearly understand. And Ellen White picked up from there and went and she said that we were created in the image of God. She looked at our nature, our purpose for creating, our purpose and our role that we play here, and why God created us. When she looked from that, and then how we have changed after the fall.
Right.
And it's because of how we have changed after the fall now. That's where you have education. And that's why education and redemption are one. Right. So if I miss that piece, And if you miss that piece, then I will always have a problem as a Seventh-day Adventist or as a Adventist Christian within the church,
Right.
because I'm going to miss my purpose right there.
Right.
And if I miss that, that is vital and that's important. Then now I am going to know my role as a parent, and then I'm going to know my role as a teacher. You see, it is holistic. And yes, we had a faith and learning. So what now? I think we have taken it a little bit further with this Christian worldview approach, instead of just having faith and learning, because what happened sometimes is that we used to do a patchwork of my belief and my faith and my Adventist faith within the classroom. Or I'll tell you, yes, I believe in Jesus, and yes, he died for me, but it is more than that.
Yes.
It is more than that. It is more of, yes, he died, and he died for my soul and my sin, and I need to go to heaven with him. When I see the importance and the value of it, then I'm going to teach from that perspective. So that is a Christian worldview. And that hit me too, because I was teaching separate from that. Yes, we had the scripture and the text to match and to complement the topic, but it is more than that, because everything is redemptive. Every single thing that you say and I do and you do is redemptive, and it just revolves there. So when I see that as a teacher, you see that as a leader, speaker, whoever you are, then my lessons will fit the format. I would hurriedly send my child to the school, and you will work with me, and we will work together as teachers and parents.
Beautiful. So what you're saying is the very core is our relationship with God.
Yes.
Our understanding that the salvation and redemption of ourselves and our young persons are the most important thing.
Yes.
And once we understand that, we are all on the same path trying to achieve the same end
and
result.
Anything else is just to assist us.
It's peripheral.
It's just to assist us in building, in reaching our goal.
Thank you, Marcia, so much.
You're
We
welcome.
could have discussed this for the entire day, but we are fresh out of time. And we want to thank you for coming today.
You're welcome.
Ellen G. White says that the goal of education, of true education, is to prepare our young persons for service in this world, but the higher joy of service in the world to come. Let us take this educational challenge very, 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 very seriously and see if we could get our young persons and ourselves fitted for God's second coming. Thank you. You've been watching Voices. Join us again next time.